everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Slightly different setup here, but I'm in the only room in the house that has any aircon. It's a scorcher here in the UK and I don't want to be sweating when I'm talking to you. I'm going to try and keep this brief. You probably would have seen that this is quite a long video today, and hopefully it's one of those videos that you can put on and listen to when you're doing your makeup, when you're on a run, when you're cooking, anything like that, and just really kind of absorb the information and just the good vibes that come from this video. Because for me, I have wanted to make this video for such a long time. When I started experiencing the benefits of me investing time and some money in myself and my tools and my skill set and just me as a person, my whole world kind of changed, and I became very passionate about this because I think for a very, very long time I thought that we weren't able to have the tools to cope with this new digital age. And I'm not just talking about myself as an online creator or an influencer. We're all in this, okay? Whether we've got 800 followers or whether we've got 800,000 or 8 million, we're all in this digital age together. And I think that it's overwhelming for a lot of us. There's a lot of comparison. There's a lot of mental health issues that come from this, whether that's if you're on the side that I'm on or whether you're on the side of people that are viewing and consuming. To be in the space that I am now, where I feel like I do have the tools to cope and flourish and live and enjoy living in this world now, it became very important to me that I made this video. Now, I want to make it clear, I am a fully paying customer to my life coach. I have never had any kind of agreement. In fact, when we first began talking, she didn't know what I did or who I was or whatever, or anything like that. We were put in touch by another online creator who I'm not going to mention because that's not my story. But she basically said to me, this woman changed my life, here's her number, get in contact. I'm so passionate about what this lady does. I have now extended her services to people that I care about in my life, because I think that it's so important for so many people to have these tools and have this opportunity to learn from her and to like grow from her. And so you don't just have to obviously have her as a life coach or anything like that. You don't have to do anything. This is just me placing someone on your radar if you might be at that point in your life. And I know that I've had a lot of people reach out to me since I mentioned this, saying, before you speak about her, please can I get her details? I'm going to put all of her details in the description box down below. I am also going to share, which I think is a really exciting part of this, is that, like I said, you don't have to book in with her as a life coach. For me, it was a huge investment. Like it was more than I've ever spent on any kind of therapy, and I'm so glad that I did. I'd do it again. But it's not just that, and I know that everyone's budgets are different, and so I did want to put it on your radar that last week she released her first book, and I have started reading it myself. I'm working my way through it as I sit in my paddling pool on my terrace because it's so hot. And look at Luby, she's like, I'm done. But she has released her book, and I think that this is sort of why I wanted to do this video and give you guys the opportunity to get her book. There's little worksheets in there, which is something that's really intrinsically linked with the way that Jacqueline does things. You do a lot of writing when you do her sessions, and you do a lot of like writing things down, homework, and it is a real investment in yourself. But you can start the process if you wanted to just by checking out her book, which I am already completely hooked on and have just been loving. Like, I love reading things that just fill me up, and Jacqueline really is one of those people that I feel like when you leave her or when you spend time with her or anything like that, you feel like you've been filled up. I'll never forget when we filmed this video. I filmed 2 hours of footage with her. She left. I then filmed a further 3 videos, which for me, I find sitting down and talking to the camera, it drains me of my energy quite a lot. And I've never had so much energy in all my life, because she is one of those people that I would describe as a waterfall. Like, she just fills people up and fills them up with things that are going to help them move forward. Now, I'm currently not having sessions with Jacqueline. I feel like I'm in a really good place, and like I said, I'm extending it to people that I care about, because that's really important to me, that this isn't just a journey for me, and I didn't want it to just be a journey for me when it came to you guys as well. So like I said, the book will be in the description box down below. So the rest of this video is basically me in conversation with Jacqueline and us just speaking about the things that go on in the world now issues that maybe can arise online, cultures, thought processes, and a lot of the things that really have completely altered my life and made me such a happy, positive and free person. And I think that that's the biggest thing that I can take from everything that I've done with her is I feel free. I feel no longer tied to other people's opinions, and I don't feel tied to my work. I don't feel tied to any of the things that I think were probably holding me back a little bit. And so I hope you enjoy the conversation. I hope you enjoy meeting her, and I'm just really grateful that I have this opportunity to be able to introduce her to so many of you and to so many people that I think that she's going to go on to benefit. This is the first time that I'm doing anything like this. I'm not really like an interviewer or anything like that, but I was like a kid in a candy store, and I hope that that comes across in this, that you can see how excited I was, and just like, I'm obsessed. Okay, I'm obsessed, and I hope that you enjoy it. So all of the information will be in the description box down below. Let me know if you liked this video, and I hope that if anything, you just take a few nuggets of information that will help you with your day, your week, or your journey, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Cheers.
I can't believe it's so weird having you here.
It's
but
weird,
yeah,
right?
like, considering I've probably spent what, like 4 months with you in my life,
yeah,
and this is the first time I'm meeting you face to face.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird, but it's not. It's like we know that we've been looking at each other for quite a bit of time, right? You know, through all the faces, right? The happy face, the sad face, the crying face, the excited face. Like, we've done it all.
Do you have that with every client, whereby like you just don't know what you're going to get every time that you, or is that just me that's like?
No, I think it because we go through so much, right? Like, so there's such a range of things. You know, I always say to people, like, it's, you know, it is an investment financially, it's an investment emotionally, it's an investment in your homework and your time. Like, you are investing, right, on every level. And during that space, lots of life things happen, right? And all of that is good, because that is what pushes us to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And that's what I love about it. So it would be weird if it was just very basic all the time. It'd be like, hang on, what's happening here?
Yeah, I think that was...
Like, life happens.
Yeah, I think that was like the biggest thing. There were so many times when I was like, I've got this, like, I'm absolutely fine. And then the next week I'd be like, yeah, oh my gosh. And it was like, but it was good, because it was making me realise how much there was for me to learn, and how many different areas I was going to have to apply the things that I was learning with you to. And it wasn't going to be easy, and I think that was the testing time, is being like, being able to take my mind back to those things that you were teaching me at every difficult stage in my life. I'm doing okay now, because when was my last session with you?
About a month, was it, maybe,
ago?
But you see, that is life, right? Like,
I needed that though. I needed to be like thrown out and like just...
Of course. Yeah. And that's very important. I always say that to my clients, like, I'm not here to mummy you, right? And I'm not here to like do any of that. I'm here to teach you how to do life, right? How to do you during your life. Okay, like, it's really important. And so that first bit is really important, to have that consistency, right? To have that weekly thing, because things come. And after a while, when you've got it a little bit, you know, and you're like, okay, it's like, I feel like it's sort of like you're hatching an egg, and you're like, you know, you've got this like baby giraffe that's like learning how to walk, and it's like, go, like, walk away, right? Like, explore a bit. You know, I'm always here. Yeah. And that is important, and I say that to people in the beginning. Like, I'm not a counsellor. I'm not a therapist in that way, that you're going to come in every week and we're going to, you know, talk about how you're feeling, and we're doing some work here, right? Like, we're on it, we're doing things, we're moving. So again, I say that a lot, like, people think that this work is like A to B, but it really isn't.
No.
It's like A, like down, and then up, and then 8.5, and then up, and then down. Oh god, I thought I got to be a but that's the beauty of it, right? Like, that is the beauty of what we do.
And I think that that's such an important part, where you say that, like, I'm not a counsellor. It's probably a really good opportunity as well for you to kind of like introduce yourself a little bit, because I don't think I could ever do justice what you do. Like, I just don't think I could. Like, even when I try to explain to people, I'm like, she's my life coach, but like, she changed my life. Like, it wasn't just she coached me through life, she literally changed it. So how did it kind of how did it all start? I'm sure you're sick of that question. I'm sure you get asked it in every single thing you do. I know exactly what it's like. But how did it all start, and what do you feel like your main kind of focus is, and what is it that you do that kind of differentiates you from like a traditional therapist, counsellor? And then I'll talk into like how my experience was with both, because I've had therapy and I've had you, and so
that's great.
Yeah.
So you can see the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you asked me kind of 3 questions there, and I've got like a goldfish brain on this one. So I'll start with the first one, which is, how did I get here? And it is the $1 million question. It's the question everyone asks all the time. And actually, you know, in the beginning I was like, oh God, I've got to share that stuff with people. But actually it seems to be that that's the important part, because, you know, life coaching, well, what is life coaching and why do I need a life coach? I got into it because my life has been a wild journey, which was very unconventional and just crazy. You know, I came from this beautiful, good home, and it was very lovely on the outside. Everything looked amazing. And I took sort of the wrong routes and the wrong paths. From very early on, from when I was 15, my life pretty much changed quite drastically. And I got into drugs big time, and anorexia, bulimia, alcohol, exercise addiction, like every single thing I could use to take myself away from myself. And I went through that for a good 10 years. And, you know, my drug addiction was a really big deal. Like, it took me to places and made me see things and do things and all of the stuff that, you know, was really wild. And at 25, I had an option of like, which way do I want to go? You know, I'd really hit rock bottom many times. You know, I tried suicide around 4 times. It was really on the floor.
I did not know that.
No, it's not something I talk about very often. It's all, you know, in there. But and I really have seen life in many different ways. And so at 25, I just had this time where it was like, you know, something's got to change and this isn't working. And it's either, you know, I go forward in my life or I, you know, try again to stop it. And thankfully I made a choice to make the change, and it was a really, really beautiful thing to do. But I went through a real process of learning about life and my mind, and I don't know about you, but no one ever taught me at school. No one said like, this is how you manage your mind and your feelings. People were like, this is how you use a protractor. This is how you bake
a Victoria sponge.
Yeah.
Like, I can bake a Victoria sponge,
right?
But knowing the inner workings of my like emotions, in fact, one of the most profound things that you sent to me, because you have like your worksheets and things like that you do in your sessions, but when you sent me a list of emotions, I had no idea that there was a list of emotions, and that there were so many, and that it was quite normal to feel those things, and that was really, really big for me. That's good. It's good. It helps.
So so I went and I studied, right? And I had a therapist, and some of them, you know, really kept me in check during that time, which was great. And then I got to a point where I was like, I just don't want to sit here and just talk all day long. Like, I want someone to tell me what to do. Like, how do I move on? You know, and I was in recovery, like I did all this stuff. And then I decided, you know what, I have to fly and study and learn. And I studied around the world, and I had lots of amazing, beautiful spiritual teachers, and I was going through like literally caterpillar to the butterfly place. And then I started my business like not long after getting sort of clean and sober. It was a bit weird, like people kept saying to me, Jacqueline, what do you think about this? And it kept coming to me so much that it was like, okay, I've got it, I'm going to do something, I understand, like I can hear you, you know, the message kept coming. It's like, you know, I'm just going to go for it. And I did, and it just flew. I remember writing letters to like really amazing schools saying, you know, I'm a coach, I want to teach kids how to think. And the responses were like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody needs you. Like, no one needs to talk about their mental health. You know, I started like a decade ago, but it was very, very different. And so I started my business, and inside I just knew that this was what I was meant to do. 3 or 4 months later, the Sunday Times called me up and said, we're doing this piece on like women that went from like party animals to like spiritual seekers, and can we put you in our article? That was like the beginning of me going, I knew that this was the right thing for me to do. So that's the answer to that question.
Everything else is in your book?
Everything else is in my book, which is like super exciting to talk about as well.
That's so interesting that you said about the therapy. That was one of the biggest things that I think that I had quite a lot of questions, because as you guys all know, I put out on my stories on Instagram. I wanted to kind of get your feedback and your understanding, and also broach questions and things like that. And a lot of you were interested in whether I'd had therapy, what I saw in terms of like needing a therapist or needing a life coach. Like, what's the difference? Why would you not go down the conventional route? In fact, some people got quite heated, like, no, you need a therapist. And I was someone that, since the very early days of me starting on YouTube, I saw really quick growth on YouTube, and it was very overwhelming. And at the time I didn't have management, I didn't have anyone telling me that this was normal. But luckily, and I actually really respect YouTube for this, I had a partner manager from very early on, and they advised that everybody should basically have like a therapist that's on the internet.
Right.
And so I did get myself a therapist, and I had the same therapist for 5 years.
That's good.
And she was great. Like, she was honestly, like, I certainly wouldn't be here today without that. But it's exactly what you said. I'm like, I'm talking about it and I'm breaking it down, but I'm not getting the tools that I need to be able to cope, really. I'm just talking. And not that there's anything wrong with that, and it definitely was such a huge part, but like, the biggest thing that I would say was, my husband describes it as, you gave me a superpower. And I genuinely feel like you gave me a superpower, because I was someone that was so easily affected by so many things. I think one of the first things I ever said to you was, there's so much negativity aimed at me, I don't know where to put it. And I was absorbing all of this stuff, and really I just needed the tools to cope. And in the world that I live in, nobody's equipping, other than you, nobody's equipping people with those tools. And that's what we need now in the day. Well,
everybody's world, I think.
Yeah, in fact, you're right. Yeah, that is the biggest thing. That was what I was going to say to you. That's the biggest thing that I noticed from the questions that I broached on my Instagram, was that the one recurring thing of everyone's issues with social media, it doesn't matter whether you had 8 million followers or whether you had 8 followers, is comparison. Everyone's in the same storm, but just different boats. And we're all kind of dealing with the same issues of society today, but just at different degrees. And so you're right, you're absolutely right. It is, everyone's life is being taken over sort of like in a digital sense.
And that will be the doorbell, which I love, because that's so real, right? So that's cool. Like, that should definitely stay up, right? Like, let's keep it real.
And that's the thing that I wanted this to be. This isn't like a chat where I'm like, oh my god, you know, like this, that and the other. This is just me wanting to share you with my audience, because I think what you do is so important. I can't even express to you. Like, I've never felt so passionately about something, because you do hold, for me, the tools to be able to cope with this new life, basically.
My life was very different. You know, when I started my business, I didn't have social media. I sound like I'm 100. I'm not, by the way.
No.
But, you know, we didn't have social media. Like, it was just starting this whole thing. This new digital world, we're human, right? And I think we can get so caught up in this stuff that we are so disconnected from ourselves, you know, when we're scrolling, and the brain is just like that white noise, isn't it? It's like, like, and usually very, 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 very negative. So it is important that we have a safe space to kind of talk about what's going on, and I think everybody needs it.
It massively changed my relationship with the internet in that respect, and it's probably good that you yourself have that experience of things before and things now as well, because you can see exactly and pinpoint what the effects are of the digital age and the effects it has on people, to be able to assist all of the varying degrees of who your clients are, because I appreciate that you don't just deal with people like me, even though I was directed to you by somebody else in the industry. That's the thing that fascinated me the most, because being able to like relate to you and like talk to you about the things that I'm passionate about, like we both really enjoy Hermes bags and things like that. So the thought that like, the thought that you also are not just focused on, you know, just women. Like, you work with high profile men, businessmen, businesswomen, like it's...
I write for GQ, it's another thing.
Exactly.
I write with the boys, which is fun. I work with a lot of different people, you know, I have to sign lots of NDAs, so unfortunately I can't like talk about who I work with a lot of the time, but that's okay. And all of that is great. And you know, and I love that you've just mentioned Hermes bags as well, because of course I love an Hermes, right? I mean, who doesn't? And I also feel lucky enough to have been at a place in my life where I used to live in a squat, right, doing drugs, and I had nothing. And what I know to be true is all of these things are lovely, and it would be silly to say like, oh, that stuff doesn't buy happiness, because of course you can be happy from that. But there's a different type of happiness that is more important, which is that inner peace, right? which is that thing where you can be peaceful and at ease no matter what or where or how. That's really the gift.
Yeah, and I think that was the most profound. That it's all been hugely like impactful, but for me as a person, I didn't realise that I was living my life like a heart monitor. Like it was
great way of putting it.
Yeah, it was. There was a situation, I reacted, then I'd come down from it. I'd sort of coast along a little bit. Situation, react, come down
big
from
reactions,
it. Oh
right?
my gosh, like
huge.
Yeah, I lived in fear because I never knew what was coming next.
Yeah,
like it was a completely unsustainable way of living.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you said to me in the beginning is that we want to kind of get you to this place of calm and contentment. And I was like, there's no way. Like in the beginning, this is really funny as well, because in the beginning, Jacqueline would say things to me and I'd be like, you know, I want to believe you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds great. Like you're selling me the dream here. And then these things that she was telling me was going to happen, happened. I think one of the things that you said to me was about a situation I found myself in, and you were like, you're gonna want to write that person a thank you letter.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like absolutely not. And then
she was just no, Lydia. It was like, that's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I was like so caught up in the thoughts that I had around this situation that I was like, no, it's not gonna happen. And now I sit here and can honestly, hand on heart, say I would. I genuinely would. Like I would write them a thank you letter to say, actually, from these situations that I found myself in, this was a positive in my life.
Right.
Whether that's what led me to you, or whether that's what helped in my business or whatever. And that was the point where I was like, whenever Jacqueline says something to me now, I'm like, I believe you. I believe that I'm going to be at that point because I know that you have what it takes to teach me how to live my life like that. And now there are times that it tests me.
That's good.
Those are the times I'm like,
that.
I need to talk.
Yeah, I love that.
But I still have those moments where I'm like, old habits come in and I like react or whatever, and I think that's normal.
Yeah, but like where it was 100%, what is it now, like 5?
It's a very rare
3, you know, and that's called real life, right? So, you know, I'm not like, I don't want you to be a robot, like everything is fine in my like that would be a bit weird, but you know, of course you're human. And also remember, how else do you grow? Like you've got to have those things to be like, oh, but hang on. And what's great now is that you're conscious and you're like, I haven't had this feeling for quite a bit of time. I know I'm feeling that's a bit weird. Like, what do I need to do? And you've got the tools to do it, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm able to catch myself in moments where I'm like, oh, this is where I would be incapacitated. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't get out of bed or whatever. Now, there's been so many instances that have like repeated itself. And I'm like, Jacqueline, this is so weird because the last time this happened, I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so here I am working, and like not just working and fulfilling my relationships with brands or my contracts with brands, but like working organically as well, which is for me something that I find really hard if I'm not in a good headspace. Like I can't be inspired and I can't be creative if I'm in a negative headspace, and yet there I was creating the things that I would normally do and functioning and continuing on and living my life. And I remember when you explained it to me in just this wave, and now I experience that so much that I live this life which is so much calmer and unaffected by everything else. It's a kind of strength that I've never experienced. And when you were saying about going to schools, like it actually makes me feel quite emotional, because that would have been one of the biggest things to have left school with, like not learning how to make a Victoria sponge. Like it's great, like, but let's tackle the really important stuff first. Let's teach kids how to navigate their emotions, their thoughts, all of the day-to-day things that happen in our heads. That's what we should be being taught in school. It's so true. Yeah, it really is.
I'm very much about like, you are allowed your opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed my opinion, and you know what? We could agree to disagree. Yeah. Right, and just calm it down and move on. And it feels like today there's very much the opposite of that, of like people are out there wagging their fingers that you can't have a different opinion, and if you do, which is the best bit, you're wrong. This gets very controversial, but there's a difference between you're different in your thinking and me thinking that it's okay to tell you that you're wrong in your thinking. For people to fully understand that can take work, but it is possible to do. I think if we could sort of teach the next generation, it's okay for people to have different opinions, and let's do that in a respectful way with each other.
Yeah.
I think there would be more love out there.
Absolutely.
Nobody really wants to throw hate around. I really don't believe that. Most of the time people are quite good, and their mind has been not given the right tools.
Exactly.
Right, to feel good and be kind and look for the things that are good.
Again, one of the really important learnings that I took from you was this, like, removing of what's wrong and right, and thinking that, you know, this is wrong. And I actually had a conversation the other day where we were talking about this, like, online culture of people that, you know, want to tell you about who you are as a person when they don't know you, or say things about you. And I was like, what they're doing, they're not wrong. Like, it doesn't make me right or them wrong. We're just wired differently.
Sure.
Like, this person deals with the inner workings of their mind and how they think and feel differently to how I would.
Right.
And that's okay. I mean, would I do it myself? No. But I can respect the fact that maybe they weren't taught what I was taught. There was an analogy that you used once about when you finish dinner, and, like, people, one person is taught to, like, throw their knife and fork on the floor and sing happy birthday,
right,
and then the other person throws their plate out the window or whatever and sits silently. Neither of them are wrong. They're just taught differently.
And the problem is when someone comes in and says, that's wrong, but that's okay, and that's, you should do that, and no, you can't do, like, the manual thing is a big deal. Like, who are we to say you are wrong? Like, who are you to say that?
Yeah.
And yet that's what's happening.
Yeah. Now I don't look at things and think, oh gosh, you know, that's awful, or that's so, I just think, that's really interesting.
Right.
And, like, what can I learn from observing this? Like, even when I asked these questions on my Instagram for today, I was going through them, and I was like, some of them were quite loaded questions, and I was like, what am I learning about the general feeling? What can I take from even just asking people to let me know what they're struggling with social media? And it's in that itself, I was like, rather than being like, oh, that comment is wrong, or that person's got issues, I was like, what am I learning from this person's response?
It's such a great way, isn't it, to live life, of sort of, you know, really with a curiosity instead of a judgment, looking at things and being curious about it, curious without making assumptions, and being, like, open-minded to, like, this is really interesting. Yeah. It's a much kinder, calmer way to live your life.
Yeah.
And don't we all want that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, who wants to walk around agitated, annoyed, angry, throwing their manual at people all day? Like, the only one that gets wound up with all that is you.
Yeah, that's very true. What I was saying to you earlier as well was that the general consensus I found, because I thought that it would be really interesting, and I wanted to kind of give my audience access to you, but in obviously this kind of sense. And the biggest thing, like I said earlier, was that everyone's the same stage at the moment online where nobody really knows how to navigate life online. We've all got it, we're all living online, and that was my big issue when I came to you, is like, I don't know how to live with this new digital world. And I think that actually I've learned that everyone's in that same boat. That was the consensus across everyone. It wasn't discriminating against anyone. Like, every single person was responding to me saying, I'm struggling with comparison, comparing my life and enjoying my life without comparing it to somebody else. And so I would love to know a little bit more about, like, your thoughts on comparison and navigating it in a way online at the moment, because I think that was the biggest thing that people were struggling with.
It's so interesting, isn't it? So, I mean, the first thing I'm going to say about comparison, which I'm sure everyone's seen the quotes, is that it is the thief of joy. Right, so, like, we could start there. Like, the minute you step into doing that, you are removing your joy. So that's, like, the first thing to think about. It's like, is that what I want to do for myself? Which, if it is, knock yourself out, go ahead. And if it isn't, think about it. Like, hang on a second. Am I taking my own joy away from myself? Right, because that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say about comparison, it doesn't really make any sense. You've got, like, blondie brown hair. I've got dark hair. You're wearing a lovely dress. I chose to wear jeans. Now, because I choose to wear jeans and you choose to wear a dress, the minute I make it better or worse is the minute I've got a problem. So isn't it better for me to come from the space and say, that's lovely that she's wearing a lovely dress and that's what she felt like today, and it's just as lovely as me choosing to wear jeans because that's what I felt like today. So comparison is really about making somebody better or worse than you. So step 2 is, why do you want to do that to yourself? Why do you want to actually look at a picture or whatever it is you're doing, or a YouTube or whatever, and decide in your brain if that thing is better or worse? Because then you're constantly, like we were saying before, like that heart monitor, aren't you? Of like, okay, she's worse than me, so it's fine. Okay, she's not as good, so it's good. Okay, oh my God, she's much better. So I think the first thing really is about being conscious and being awake of that you're doing it. And the second thing is asking yourself the question of like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I looking at this person and pitting myself against them? What am I getting from that?
This is the thing that is so interesting, because we've all heard those quotes, but we've never really broken down the thinking and the thought process. And that's what I did with you a lot of the time, because someone with 8 followers will be comparing themselves to someone with 800 followers, and then someone with 800 followers is going to be comparing themselves to someone with 8,000. And I've sat down with some of the biggest influencers in the world, and they have been fixated on what other influencers are doing. So even when people now view influencers and view their content and look at them online, you think that they're not comparing themselves, but they are. And I want, through this, to open up you to so many people online, to know that there are places and there are processes and a person who can completely break down that toxic cycle of thinking and making it about you.
Yeah, and that's where the work is, right? Like
exactly.
that is what this work is about.
Yeah.
To give you an exact answer would not be fair, because everyone's different, right?
Exactly.
So how I would work with you will be different to how I work with the next person and the next person on something like comparison. I never had that. And I think a big part of that is very much about, if you like yourself and you've got enough self-worth of like, I'm all right with me. I never saw the point of going, I'm going to compare myself to that person down the road. Like, how is that going to benefit me? Now, marketing people might completely disagree with me, and that's okay. And business people might really disagree with me, and that's okay too. But I never saw the point of comparing myself and my business, because I wasn't them and they weren't me. I still get shivers up my spine when I say this, but like, the universe is always working for me, and it's conspiring for me, and my door is always open, and the people that come are meant to come, and the people that don't, they don't, right? So why would I be like, oh my God, they've got more than me? Because those people are not meant to be my people. It's working perfectly, and I get excited by that. I do, I know, it's silly, isn't it? But I'm excited by that, right? Like, I was meant to meet you, and you were meant to meet me, and isn't that beautiful? And the more we can allow that to be what it is, the more peaceful we become. And then, when we really get there, the universe just delivers you more magic, right? And it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, wow, this is exciting. And when we're in that space of like, oh my God, they've got more than me, they've got better than me, they're not, oh, that's okay, they're not as good as me. Like, that place is like a really icky, sticky place. Like, nobody wants to be in that place. It's not comfortable. Really, it's based on, you know, self-esteem, self-worth, and a little bit of work personally of what's happening for you to unravel it.
I think that was one of the things that I was like, okay, when we were talking once, because you actually teach other life coaches, don't you? You do courses.
Yeah, I have a school online. So my school is called The Life Class, and I built that when I'd had this hip operation. And I used to be a big runner, and my hip just... So I had this operation, and the doctor said, you know, listen, you will recover. You probably won't be able to run again, and it will take you about 3 weeks to like start walking. And I was flat on my back for 3 months and couldn't move. But it was the perfect opportunity to do something amazing. I was like, okay, so if I'm flat on my back for 3 months, no funny thoughts, please. What can I do? And it was like a spiritual thing, actually. It was like I literally got my pen out and I was like, finally do the school. So I built the school online, thelifeclass.com, and it teaches people how to be a life coach. I've got a course to do that, so you can train to become certified with me. Or it's got another course, which is your own sort of self-development of how to get your mind right yourself. You know, it takes discipline to do the course, but it's powerful.
And I think that, for me, that's the most fascinating thing, because you aren't just like saying, you know, I'm not comparing myself and I'm not competing or whatever like that. You're actively teaching other life coaches, other people, to go out and teach people what you do, like your USP. And I think that in itself is just such a testament of practicing what you you preach.
Well, because they're not me, right? So
Exactly.
I'm going to train all these people because this is a ripple effect. So if I can train you and you can help other people and then they can help other people, like, beautiful. Like, that's what we're here for, in my opinion.
Like, I know from doing the work, because this was an area that I really found myself kind of like consumed by, was that I was looking at what other people were doing and judging myself, and that was somewhere that I really needed to do some work, and I can't express the freedom that I now experience. I don't look at what anyone is doing online and feel like it's anything to do with me. Like,
wonderful.
It doesn't affect how I feel about like my mission, my life, my career, my home, my everything. It just makes me really happy for other people. And
but that, you see, that's the next step, right?
Yeah.
So step one is like, I look at that and it's nothing to do with me, and that's them. I'm not comparing myself. And then, like, we elevate again and we go, and I'm really happy for them. The point is, being happy for people feels good.
Yeah, it actually does.
I always say that. I always say, like, I'm really selfish because I want to feel good, right? So I'm selfish in choosing thoughts that make me feel good, like, over and over again. Like, yeah, I'm cool with being selfish like that. So that's a good thing. You know, you can look at that person, good for them, I'm happy for them. You know, that comes from a place where you've elevated your self-esteem.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's so fascinating as well, what you said there about I choose the thoughts that make me feel good, because again, the doorbell again.
It's going to be the doorbell dolls.
The dogs
Love
will be
it.
going wild. The notion of choosing my thoughts had never occurred to me until I met you. My thoughts were out of control.
And it's a process, right? Like, a lot of the time in the beginning, like, maybe even people watching this will be like, what is she talking about? And that's fine, because that's the work. Individually, people will have to learn that differently.
Yeah.
But it's about really being conscious, right? And waking you up. It's a bit like if you've never seen Diet Coke in a can. And what I'm doing is I'm saying, you know, hun, this is Diet Coke in a can. Like, once you've seen that, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And that's great, right?
Yeah. Being conscious of my thoughts, that's what I would say was the superpower that you gave me. And I always say this now, I always think to myself, I sound like Jacqueline, but I live in a space, that's what you would say. I live in a space where I'm not out of control. Having control, but in an unconscious way, is incredible for me. To not just have a thought, have a feeling and just react, I'm able to say, you know, hold on a minute, this isn't how I want to feel about this. I want to,
and that's how you learn. That's what you learn, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the learning.
Yeah, I get to choose how I feel.
Amazing.
And how I live my life. Like,
how cool is that?
That is, to me, the ultimate. I can't even explain how.
It's freedom.
It's absolute
freedom, and it's total. You know, people always say to me, "So, Jacqueline, you know, lots of these interviews, especially in the States. Hey, Jacqueline, like, you know, what's your thing about like success? Tell us about what you think success is." Sorry about my terrible American accent. That's like so bad. It's probably a cut.
No, it's fabulous.
But anyway, I always say that success is inner peace.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is exactly how we get that. Learning the tools about how to do that, which is totally possible.
I say it like you handed me a superpower, but you taught me. You went through processes with me, and there were times, and I remember the person that actually sent you to me. They actually said to me, "Whatever you do, if you believe what you're saying, argue it with her."
Oh yeah.
Argue with Jacqueline until you are blue in the face. You won't win.
That's right.
But just always, if you believe it, argue until you believe different. Anyone that I've ever suggested to like contact you or whatever, since obviously having you in my life, I've always said the same thing, because I did that. I argued with you. I was like, no, they like talking about online hatred or whatever, and I hate calling it that now. Online opinion is probably the best thing to call it, because it's just not that to me anymore.
Yeah, good.
But like, even with that, I'd be like, no, it is wrong. Like, when you tried to tell me initially, like, it's not about what's being wrong and right, blah blah blah, I was like, it is wrong, like, why would they do that, blah blah blah. And then when we start doing the work and the processes and we start working through this, it might take however many weeks, but before long I'm at a point where I'm like, you're right. And I'm glad I argued. I'm glad I stood my ground, but you are right. And that was the biggest part of me learning, was actually having those obviously respectful
No, but it's
confrontations.
important.
Yeah,
that confrontation is important,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't want anyone to come in and be like, oh, just tell me everything and I'll just say yes to everything. Because A, that would not be authentic from them, and I'd be like, so I can smell a rat, like this is not right. But B, I think those things are very important. I mean, I worked with one man once, I can't mention his name, unfortunately. He was very heated on a subject, and he came into my office and he was heated, like seriously heated. And so, like, we talked and, you know, we did that back and forth, that tussle, which, you know, I can expect sometimes, and that's okay. He got so heated that I wouldn't agree with what he was saying and trying to show him how to do this differently, that he got up and he was like, slammed his fist on my desk, right? And he was like, this is ridiculous, slammed his fist down, and he walked out. And I was like... And I literally, I'm not kidding you, I like set my clock. I'm like, I'm going to give him 48 hours, right? And as he walked out the door and I'm doing this, I'm like, listen, your homework for this week is stay angry, right? Like, just to like annoy him even more. So he walked out, it sounds door, blah, blah, blah. And literally 24 hours later, I'd gone back into my office, and I walk into my office, I'm not kidding you, my office was filled with roses everywhere. And the message said, please may I come back now? So I called him up and I'm like, of course you can come back. And he's like, you know, I had the sleepless night. He said, and then I got it. I actually get what you're trying to show me to do. And he was like, I was close to tears, right? This was like a big, strong guy. And I find that really beautiful, because we argue for our limitations sometimes, right? We argue for our resentments, and we argue for this thing that really keeps us unhappy and unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I want to teach people how to do that differently.
You do, first and foremost, like you absolutely do. I feel like I need an I Love Jacqueline t-shirt, because literally I know that when we met, I'd reached that point, and I don't think I could have been at any other point to have reached it. Like, I had to be at like rock bottom, and I just was like, I'm in this, like, just we'll do it. And I would argue my points, but the process of just being fully open to doing the work first and foremost. But like, my mind was at that point where I was like, I have to do something, otherwise I'm not going to make it through this. And it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because I honestly, I don't know how. First of all, the person that like connected us, how that all happened literally blows my mind.
It's beautiful.
It honestly,
it's beautiful.
And then when I went into it thinking, you know, miracles don't happen, I'm never going to be able to do my job, conduct myself online, ever. I'm just going to kind of cope, just about. This is a miracle to me, because to be in a space where I flourish.
Yeah, it was life-changing, wasn't it, for you?
Just like,
it was really, I mean, you know, that's how it should be.
Yeah,
it changes people's lives, right? This work changes people's lives.
And like you said, it was an investment for me. Like, that was that I chose to, at that time in my life, I was looking at like investing in stocks or whatever, and properties or whatever, things like that. But this was the most tangible and the best payoff in terms of an investment that I have ever done in my entire life.
That's great to hear.
Because I've never experienced a shift in who I am as a person, and the way that I think as a person, and the way that I function. Like, my relationships are better because of the work that we did. Like,
everything's better.
Everything is
better. Relationships better, work is better, friendships are better. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Like, this is the thing, like, you know, you can buy a lovely handbag or invest in stocks, but again, if your brain isn't right, you know, there's that quote, isn't there? Like, you can eat as much broccoli as you want, but if your mind isn't right, it doesn't work. And I'm such a believer of great mental health, that you can see that when you actually do the work, invest in it, as we said, energetically, you know, financially, time-wise, everything, your life will change. And it's really powerful.
Even just the way that my husband and I communicate, like, even last night over dinner, we were like having a discussion about even just this, the way that we communicate through issues and work through them has completely changed because of the work that I've done with you. And I genuinely would not believe it was possible had I not lived it. And that's why for me this was so important, that we sit down and I have you here, because I spent a lot of time thinking that in my lifetime, the internet's not going to change. All of this stuff's happening, and there's all this horrible stuff, this wrong stuff happening on the line. It's a wild, wild west, I used to say, online. I mean, it still is a wild, wild west. But just because that's not going to change in my lifetime doesn't mean I can't change and adapt to be able to cope with that. And that was the biggest thing. I was like, we don't have the tools, but we can have the tools. And I didn't know that. Yeah. So I was there working online, hoping that all of a sudden the issues that I have dealing with my career and what comes with that were just going to one day go away, or a bill was going to be passed in Parliament or whatever, just waiting for that moment. And actually, one day you walked into my life, and okay, I can't change you, I've got no control over you, there's nothing I can do there, but what I can do is work on myself. And
that's the key, isn't it? If you just behave differently, I will be happy. Yeah, right? Like,
that was literally my mentality.
Right? Your whole mentality. If they just would all and I'm like, no, honey. You're like, what do you mean no? Right? Those conversations, I love it, but it's so true, right? And when you learn to step back from that space and just learn about yourself and your mind and your thinking, everything will change. It has to. None of us are perfect, right? Like, we've got to learn how to do life differently. Why wouldn't we? If we know we can be happier and kinder and calmer and peaceful, like, why would we not do the work to get there? For me, it was everything.
For me also,
right?
Like, when you talk about your journey and how you got to do this, and like, it was all like pointing towards you doing this, I'm like, I'm so glad.
It's a funny one because my journey was so extreme, and I remember thinking, why did I have such an extreme journey? Right now, people have had extreme journeys. I'm not the first, I'm not the last, but for me, it was extreme. Why did I go through this? Like, why? And it just got clearer and clearer and clearer. And that's the difference, I think, between that sort of place of going, poor me, I've had this terrible experience in my life, and it would, and on we go, to saying, how can I use this experience to like rocket myself to where I want to be? Yeah. And that's the work. Isn't it?
You're literally describing me. Like that was me. Yeah. I was like, I think I came to you initially, and I think I even spoke about it on my own channel, that I felt like every time I stood up I was being punched back down.
You were a different person.
And it was like, just that in itself. And the most profound thing was when you showed me how my thought processes brought that into my world. But even when you say that now, I'm like, I've had those moments, those really horrible moments in my world, and on my scale. Obviously it's not the worst stuff to ever happen to anyone, but like, those things happened for you to come into my life, for me to now have you here and help so many other people learn the tools. And it's not just living online, it's not just navigating being like an influencer or life online, it's everything. Like, your tools extend to my relationship with my husband, my relationship with my best friend, my relationship with my job, my relationship with people that I don't know. I think I told you as well, like, I have always described myself as someone that, like, I don't get on with people. I don't like, people just don't like me.
Yeah, you used to say that.
Yeah. Now I go into social situations, and never before have I had this, where people message me afterwards and they're like, you are like magic, like, you are just electric to be around. And I've never ever had that. Like, people want to be around me because I'm not thinking this person hates me, I'm not thinking all of these negative
you dropped a lot of that negative baggage, and I think that's an energy thing.
Absolutely.
As well.
Like, people pick up an energy on me now
100%.
where people want to be around me, whereas 100%. Before that negative energy just seeped out of me. Nobody wanted to be around someone that was negative.
People energetically pick up on things. We don't always have to speak, and that's an energy thing too.
It's very 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 true. I almost feel like, just like you were in those awful situations that brought you to this, like, now I've had my own tough times in life, but now I get, first of all, to sit here and say that I have experienced what it is that you do and the amazingness of what you do, but also bring you into this world and hopefully introduce other people that, if they get to a point where, like I was, or even if not, if you're just looking to change aspects or develop or grow, a peaceful person, really, this is. And there are ways that you can. And
Absolutely.
there are people that,
Absolutely.
like you, that do those things and teach these things and make that a possibility, because I think, for, like I said in the beginning, I was doing everything. I was having therapy, I was having acupuncture, I was trying to find something that worked, and nothing has ever flipped my world on its head in the way that you did.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can't stop gushing about it now.
It's so sweet. My friends are like, you're the growth bomb. You just bomb into people's lives and people just grow, and that's cool, right? And you know, that's good, and everyone's got their own journey, and we do these things when we're ready. Like you said as well, you know, you were very ready. You were at the place where you were like, just tell me, you know, I'm just ready. And that's a great place for me to enter into, because you're willing and you're open-minded. I don't take on everybody that contacts me. Like, I will only work with people that are ready to do the work. And I think, you know, you definitely were ready to do the work.
Oh my gosh, I was like teacher's pet. I was like, I've done my homework.
I know, you were so good. I was like, I love it when people do their homework.
I didn't do my homework at school, but I did it for you.
I love that. But why not, right? This is what we're talking about with investment, right? You were investing in you and you were doing the work, and that's why you've got here.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that you have to be at that point where you're like open.
You're ready.
You can't just be like, well, I need to sort something out, but I'm not really like into this. Like, no, I was like fully, this is it, this is sink or swim for me, like this has to work, and it's not going to work unless I work. So I did, and I, like, you know, every week there I was in my car, like having my sessions with you, like just making sure that I was always there, because I wanted what you had. Like, I wanted that calmness and that peace that you live with, and so if I didn't show up, I wasn't going to get that, and I didn't do the work, I wasn't going to get that, and now I feel like I get that. Which is,
well, you do, and you know, you wanted it, right?
You
really, really wanted it. That's what I wanted in my journey as well.
That in the book.
Some of it's in the book, some of it's in the book. But this book, you know, I'm really excited to share this with you. You're the first person I've shared this with, so I'm really, really like. There's the book.
And I said to Jacqueline, I feel like this book was written for me, because my toxic trait is to make everything about me, but it's how to do you, which I just think is going to resonate. Just that title in itself, like, that's going to resonate with so many people, because I think we live in an age where a lot of people, and especially this last year, have lost themselves. And
they think they should be someone else,
yes,
right? So
exactly.
It's like, no, this is how to do you. Yeah. This is really a manual of like how to do life, how to understand success, how to smash your goals, you know, how to like accept yourself, how to like stop procrastinating. Yeah. And I'm hoping it's going to help a lot of people, you know, just to put out some stuff out there where, you know, you can read the book and some things can like change in your mind and have a few light bulb moments. There's worksheets in the book too.
Oh, is there?
That you can like write in it. It's a book where I'm like the sort of person where I'm like, light the candles, wear the dress, like don't, you know, live, right? Yeah. So in there, it's like a book I want people to like, you know, scribble in and get used to and make notes on. So it's all in there. Very exciting.
And I'm a big believer in books. I've told you this before. There were some weeks when I don't think I had a session with you, or like we tried to go like 2 weeks in between sessions. And if I ever felt like I needed like a bit of you and your like advice or your energy or whatever, I'd like go and find one of your podcasts or go and find one of your videos, and I'd just put it on and like have those little reminders. So this is like me being able to do some of those learnings and those thought processes and teachings and do it at home.
Amazing,
and
right?
Learn more, I guess. Yeah, I'll link it in the description box down below.
It comes out on Amazon, and it's really funny actually. I've like, you know, I've been writing that through the COVID pandemic, and I had this time to kind of put it together and do it, and I'm very proud of it. I really hope it helps a lot of people, and I literally got it yesterday, like a hard copy, and I'm like, wow, like there's actually a book that hopefully will help a lot of people. It's great.
And I think that this is a great place for people to also start if they're kind of looking into you and what you do, and just maybe dipping their toe in. Maybe they're not quite at that point yet where they're like, I'm ready to fully invest in myself, or I'm ready to do this, and they want to just get a little bit more about you and a little bit of an understanding of how you do things, because that was the thing. I didn't know anything about how your processes worked. I was just like, let's do this. I'm really excited to read it. I'm sad that I wasn't able to like read it beforehand, because I think that that would have been very interesting for me to have done both, read the book and it, but I will.
It's only just come out as like my first copy, so I was like, I've got to bring it to Lydia's.
I have ask Jacqueline to do Audible as well, because everyone will know that I'm like the biggest Audible fan, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But I do want to read this, so I am going to be reading this, so if you want to hear my thoughts on it when I do get a chance to read it, I'll let you guys know. But I'll link it in the description box down below as well. Is there anything else that you want to cover in the video?
Not really. I just want to say like peace and love to everybody, and you know, like I just hope that this has helped people. I hope that people understand from this that we can work on our mental health and we can get better. We don't have to stay stuck in a place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you're experiencing or having trouble with, like you can change. And, you know, there's help out there, right? Like to do that. And also just to say, you know, the book is out, the school is available, you know, I work privately one-to-one, so I'm around to help people as well. But, you know, it's been an honour, and I really mean to sit here and have this chat with you. It's been really lovely to do that. So
I mean, it's an honour for me to be able to have you here.
It's an honour for me. It's like the loving society here.
No, it's true though. Like for me to be able to share this with them, and also they've seen the change in me. Like I've been on the internet for like a decade,
a long time,
and I think I was always floundering, and then this last year I've been like, this is just too much for me anymore. And I like I said, people lose themselves, and I lost myself, and then all of a sudden, like it was tangible. Like everybody around me was like,
it's great.
There was one message that I got yesterday that was like, I have never seen someone so calm in what appears to be a storm that surrounds them, and that is where I live now. Like I'm just like, there might be this stuff that's happening, but
you can't control the storm.
Yeah, I don't live there. What goes on around me I can watch. It's interesting. I learn, but it's not for me to harbour anymore.
Well, you learn how to differentiate between that's the storm and this is me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Otherwise we get swallowed up.
Yeah.
And we drown.
Yes.
You know, we don't want to do that.
I came very close.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But now you're like really swimming.
Yeah.
Which is great.
I owe all of that to you, and I'm so grateful that you came all the way out here to...
I got on a train. I came out. I was like, oh my god.
I'm so grateful, and I'm just so glad that you agreed to do this with me, and I just hope that from this you meet so many other people that you have the same effect that you did on me, because I'm so grateful, so thank you so much.
That's okay, I'm grateful for you too, and for the universe to connect her like that. This is how it works, right? Like we've got to have that faith that it's always bigger. Yeah. It's always bigger. It's all working how it's meant to work. All of it.
Yeah.
Right? So thank you.
Thank
really.
You so much. Oh my god, that was so good. Yes. I can't wait to watch this back, because now when I'm like, I need a little bit of Jacqueline in my life, I can just put on my own video.
Yeah, and watch it.
So that is me in conversation with my life coach, Jacqueline, who is the woman who changed my life. And I know she's going to go on to change so many more. She's changing people's lives in my life as we speak. Through my work with her, she's changed my relationship with my husband, she's changed my relationship with my family, my friends, everybody around me, and it's incredible. It really is incredible what she does. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!